Most compost piles fail for one simple reason. They're treated like trash heaps instead of living microbial systems. I've seen gardeners pile up scraps, turn occasionally, and then wonder why the compost turns slimy, sour, or nutrient-poor. The mistake isn't effort, it's biology. When compost lacks oxygen balance, moisture control, and proper carbon structure, microbes collapse. And when microbes collapse, nutrient cycling slows, pathogens survive, and soil gains almost nothing. That failure shows up in the garden fast: weak seedlings, pale leaves despite feeding, soil that looks dark but acts lifeless, yields that never reach potential. I didn't fully understand how much I was getting wrong until I started measuring conditions inside my piles instead of guessing. A simple 4-in-1 soil meter I use reads moisture, temperature, pH and light levels, and it helped me catch a problem early. My compost cores were staying too wet and drifting acidic, which suppresses beneficial microbes. Once I corrected that, decomposition speed and compost quality changed completely. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. It's one of those small tools that prevents big mistakes. So I went deeper into traditional systems that consistently produce biologically active compost. That search led me to time-tested farm methods used in low-tech, high-efficiency growing systems. These growers don't rely on expensive inputs. They rely on biological principles that quietly build resilient soil year after year. I tested those principles across backyard piles, raised bed compost trenches, container blends, and even adaptations for hydroponic nutrient teas. The results were consistent. When compost is built for microbes first, plants respond fast. Here's the first shift that changed everything. Compost really needs structure before ingredients. Most people, they focus on what goes into a pile: kitchen scraps, grass clippings, manure. But here's the thing: microbial habitats actually depend on airflow channels. Without structure, piles compact, oxygen drops. And then, anaerobic bacteria start to dominate. So, I started building piles with coarse carbon layers forming a loose lattice. I use small sticks, shredded dry stalks, and chunky browns that create air pockets. Then, nitrogen materials go between those layers. Just think of it like a breathable sponge, not a packed landfill. The pile temperatures, stabilized faster, odors just disappeared, and, a decomposition actually accelerated without needing to turn the pile as often. Then I realized, honestly, that moisture discipline matters more than volume. Overwatering compost is one of the fastest ways to suffocate microbes. Excess moisture fills up air spaces and creates low oxygen zones where beneficial organisms really start to decline. These days I now aim for the feel of a wrung-out sponge. Moist, but not dripping. If water squeezes out, it's definitely too wet. And if it crumbles dusty, it's just too dry. That moisture balance alone shortened my compost cycle by weeks. There's also a carbon to nitrogen balance most people oversimplify. The usual advice says more greens for speed. That's misleading. Excess nitrogen fuels rapid bacterial blooms that burn hot and collapse fast, leaving unstable compost. I've had better results targeting a balanced mix heavy on carbon structure with nitrogen woven in. Roughly 3 parts dry carbon materials to 1 part nitrogen-rich material by volume keeps microbial populations diverse and stable. Diversity builds resilience. The next change surprised me because, honestly, it felt counterintuitive. Less turning can actually be better. Frequent turning is often promoted as essential, but constant disturbance breaks fungal networks that help bind organic matter and improve nutrient complexity. So I shifted to minimal turning, only when the temperature plateaus or compaction appears. That way, it preserves microbial habitats while still maintaining oxygen flow. Finished compost became more crumbly, earthy, and biologically active. Temperature management is another misunderstood factor. High heat is useful for pathogen reduction, but extreme heat for too long sterilizes beneficial organisms. Compost isn't just about sanitizing waste, it's about cultivating life. I monitor temperature to keep piles in the active range, not overheating. When cores spike too high, I vent the pile or add coarse carbon to cool it. Balanced heat preserves microbial diversity. There's also the inoculation effect most gardeners overlook. Healthy compost benefits from exposure to living soil. I started adding small amounts of mature compost or forest soil between layers to seed microbial communities. That simple step accelerated decomposition and improved compost smell and texture. Microbes multiply faster when introduced intentionally. The way you apply compost really matters just as much as how you produce it. Finished compost shouldn't always be buried deep, actually. Surface application feeds soil life where oxygen and biology are strongest. And, earthworms and microbes will integrate those nutrients naturally. In raised beds, I usually apply a thin top layer of compost and then cover it with organic mulch. For containers, I blend compost lightly into the upper layer instead of packing it deep. Roots really do respond to that surface biology. Hydroponic systems honestly reinforce the same concept for me. When I brewed compost teas using well-structured compost, microbial activity improved nutrient uptake and root vigor in inert media. But, tea made from poorly structured compost just lacked stability and produced inconsistent results. Quality compost truly equals functional biology. Now here's where many gardeners get misled. Composting isn't about speed, it's about stability. Fast piles can produce immature compost that actually steals nitrogen from soil during breakdown. Slower balanced systems, though, produce stable organic matter that feeds plants consistently. I'd rather wait a few extra weeks for compost that works than rush material that honestly harms soil performance. If this kind of practical soil science matters to you, go ahead and subscribe. This channel is built for growers who want results rooted in biology, not trends. Another key lesson is scale awareness. Backyard piles behave differently than large farm windrows, that's for sure. Smaller systems lose moisture faster and compact easier. That means structure and moisture management matter even more. I build piles at least 1 cubic meter in size when possible. That mass holds heat and moisture more reliably. When space is limited, I use contained bins but keep materials coarse to maintain airflow. Compost is engineering as much as ecology. The final shift is patience with maturation. Finished compost should smell earthy, not sour. Texture should be dark and crumbly, not slimy or chunky. When squeezed, it should hold shape lightly and break apart easily. Immature compost causes nutrient imbalances and root stress. On the other hand, mature compost really builds soil resilience. Once I adopted these principles consistently, soil texture improved season by season. Raised beds started to retain moisture better, and container mixes stayed biologically active for much longer. Crop vigor increased, and fertilizer efficiency improved too. Healthy compost honestly feeds soil ecosystems that in turn feed your plants. This isn't about romanticizing tradition, it's about respecting biological systems, refined through long-term practical experience. Compost, in a way, is living infrastructure. Build for microbes first, and plant performance follows. Understand airflow, respect moisture balance, prioritize structure, encourage diversity, disturb less, apply thoughtfully. Small biological decisions, they create large agricultural outcomes. If this helped you rethink your composting system, go ahead and subscribe, and maybe share it with another serious grower. Better soil always starts with better biology.